Hi there, and welcome to the May 27th Town of Northfield Select Board meeting. We're calling this meeting to order at 6:01. And first up is Friends of the Senior Center, specifically Jim Whitcomb. Do you want to come forward, Jim? And we don't bite.
I've heard a little ways also.
And you have a request for us for I'm just going to say for the folks at home so you don't have to, a request for bottle and can drive-in to the town hall parking lot to support the senior center. And you're looking, so kudos for doing this well in advance and coming to talk to us. Great, do you want to just say a little bit more? We did get your letter in our packet.
Okay.
You can sit down, Jim.
Yeah, you can sit down.
It's all right, rest.
You more comfortable standing?
I want to do this as a fundraiser for the senior center because we have very few opportunities to do fundraisers. We did a very big one last year at the Four Star Brewery.
Right.
It was an excellent turnout.
Yeah.
Well supported. But this one here, I thought would be different. I've talked with Steve Roberto, who does the food pantry, and I also helped him with that drive, and that's where I got the idea from. And he's on board with it. I've talked to other folks that are involved with the can drives, different things in town, other towns, and they don't see a conflict at all in other programs that are being run. So with this proposal, it's a 4-hour thing that I'd like to do 10 to 2 on the 26th of July. And I'd like to advertise it if I can, put flyers out in stores and things like that. So basically it.
Okay. Any questions from the board for Jim?
Not at this time.
I do not. Good idea.
And like I mentioned before, the Friends of the Northfield Seniors are 501c,
Yep.
so it's a nonprofit, so that's just so people realize that.
Oh, question from the audience?
Yeah, when he says can drive, he's talking about empty bottles and cans.
Return.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification from Karen.
You can have people bring you baked beans.
It's okay if it's empty. No.
Full cans of beer, Jim?
This was discussed at the senior center
That's a
also.
side thing, yeah.
It just went right off my mind.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's good. Well, I'm glad you talked to Steve Roberto because that was my first thought was the food pantry.
Yeah, mine too.
And then my second thought, which you had already mentioned, was just making sure that the police know about it so that because they're not used to folks being in the parking lot necessarily on the weekends. Although with the Creamy, I'm sure people park in the town hall parking lot. I've seen that too, so. Okay.
Yeah, I think you can give me some guidance too, and I've got ideas how I want to set it up, like in and out.
Okay.
So it's not being a congestive problem.
Right, a traffic problem, yeah. Well, I think the best thing would be to follow up with Chief Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as he's fine with it, I'm guessing the rest of the board would be fine with it too? Is that, I don't want to speak for the entire board, but,
I think it's a great idea, right?
okay. Do you want to do a motion then and we'll?
Yeah, I'll motion that we approve a can and bottle drive for the Friends of the Northfield Seniors for support of the senior center on July 26, 2025 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Again, maybe to amend that to returnable cans and bottles.
Empty. Yeah.
And empty
Just
and clean if
returnable?
they could. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, great. And then just make sure you chat with Chief Hall
I will.
and let Sandra know if there's anything that needs to come back to the select board or Andrea.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
There you
very
go.
much. Thank you.
See, I told you it'd be painless.
Piece
Piece
of
of
cake.
cake.
Piece of cake. Thanks for doing that. I know you're a new volunteer on the Friends, so thanks for doing that as well.
Well, the COA board helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Previous stuff like this.
Yeah.
I always just want to pass it on.
Yeah, you guys are always giving back, so we appreciate that, and we see you, and we just want to thank you publicly too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
So we get cans at the dump. There are
Yeah.
two different places that happens. Do we get money from those? Are we recycling those big bins? There's one for the Boy Scouts, but there's one place We don't get any?
No, that's the
The food
food
pantry.
Food
pantry.
pantry.
Oh, the food pantry gets this.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
how they.
Got it.
Yeah, so. Okay, all right. I know I saw Tom earlier, so he'll be here for 6:15. Why don't we do the warrants? So first one is the payroll warrant. Can I get a motion for that?
I move we approve the 5/28/2025 payroll warrant of $89,183.78.
Great.
Second?
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And vendor?
A refreshingly low number.
Can
I
tell
move
it's
that we
that.
approve the
End of the year.
5/28/2025 vendor warrant of $54,699.72.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Duly noted on the lower amount. It's just a normal one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Well, we're glad that we don't have snow removal in the middle of
Oh my God,
spring, you
yeah.
know?
That's for sure. Just a lot of rain. Okay, review and approval of the minutes.
I have a couple of things. I was unable to get into my .gov email, so I have a couple of items that I'd like to
How,
add. Well,
do you have a printout for everybody?
no, I don't, because I just got it when I walked in the door because I didn't have access to my .gov email.
How
I can tell you there are two. So on the reorg,
Yep.
under the reorg for the chair.
Yep.
I like it said I stated that I had served as a year as vice chair and I was most senior on the board that had not served as chair. And it looks like, so that's number one.
Yep.
And then it looks like we discussed the finance committee and Dan's place and all that kind of stuff, but there's nothing in the minutes of that. So that needs to be in the minutes. For instance, the TA, town administrator, stated, so I had to figure out my own abbreviation, stated that David McCarthy had not been told that he must leave the FinCom on starting the select board. And Dan Campbell stated that there was a special law that he had just found that allowed him to stay on the FinCom. So those were two items that were discussed, but they weren't in the minutes.
So are those written out in such a way that people can see them?
Nope, because again, I did not have access to my town
Right.
email. So I can write those, I can email
why don't you
them,
do
or,
do
and so we
that.
just want to pause on that and
Yeah,
then,
because
okay.
going forward to what you'll see in the email is just anybody who has any edits is just get those in on the Monday before the meeting. So Monday by 4, so Sandra has them and then can
Can print
distribute
them out.
them. Yeah.
Also, I had a question about the reorg, which is on the minutes. Do we have a policy whereby the person who previously served in a position does a transfer? So for instance, the person who was previously on the school board sends an email, that was Bernie, would send an email to the school board saying, hey, Sarah's taking over, and then they have that, or we've got the EMS advisory committee. I don't know when those meetings are and everything. So is there some, I think there should be a clean transfer way that we do it. Is that in place?
I'll entertain any suggestions and we can discuss it at the next meeting.
All right.
I know the FERCog,
No, we're
Sandra
gonna-
usually lets them know.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's,
Actually, Bernie, they contact me.
Okay.
yeah, so
That's
we're
their
gonna,
role, that-
Oh,
let's
okay.
just go through it and then we can document it at the next meeting.
So we're gonna, that's gonna be on the agenda that we talk about.
Yep, and if you look in the
transfer.
packet, I put the proposed agenda topics list, so
Yeah.
people can add to it. Okay, first off, so just a note here, I put the critical business things at the top. They're not always the most exciting, but the first one has to do with people's electric bills in Northfield. So we need to provide authorization for the bid process for the aggregation of electrical pricing. And that's normally handled by the town administrator along with the energy committee, but as a group, we need to provide authorization. Do you want to say a few things about, because you went to a preliminary meeting
Yeah,
and you can't
I-
reveal,
No, we can't reveal
Details,
the
but-
indicative pricing, it's not final pricing anyway. Just the history is, this has been, the town has been part of aggregation since 2018 with 15 other towns. It was initiative conducted through the Energy Committee, had to go to town meeting. It was a town vote. It was not done primarily as a way to save money, though certainly there was a hope it would. It was done as a way to offer greener options for residents to choose from. We picked 3 options, and people can choose any of the 3, going up in price to the more greener at their option. This allows communities to, and jointly, 15 of us, to jointly bid for electrical pricing for the towns. The town has bid pricing through our consultant 3 times now since I've been here. And they've beat the utility so far each year to date. So the lowest utility with the lowest option on that has beat. But we can't know what's going to happen in the next one. Residents can opt out to remain with the default provider, which in this case for us is Eversource. The last bid was 2 years ago. We did a 24-month contract. That contract will be up for renewal. We get the pricing now, but it doesn't start till January 1st, 2026. But that's how the bidding process works. Bids and pricing for the new January contract are due June 11th.
Okay.
And the process is the prices come in at 11 a.m. They're sent to the participating towns by 2:30. So our contractor sorts them and makes a table and sheet and shows everybody. And then the towns must sign the agreement if they're going to accept them by 2:30 p.m. the same day.
Oh,
They
wow.
are not held open.
Yikes.
So twice the select board has in the past voted to allow me to authorize pricing for Northfield. I can't imagine we wouldn't be going with the lowest price. I mean, this doesn't seem to be a scenario in which that would be evident. I did print out, I had put it in your thing last time, but I didn't know if everyone looked at it. This is just so you can take it with you. This is the last quarterly report. We do get quarterly reports. I put them in your thing. And the Energy Committee years ago picked the 3. There's 6 or 8 different ways. You can go all the way up to 100% mass class 1 rec. Very, very green, but it's the most expensive.
Right.
And years ago, the Energy Committee selected 3. We select up to 3 different options, and progressively picking the one that is the comparable to the Eversource one, the closest. Which you have to remember, the state already requires a certain amount of Class 1 and clean energy. So that's already going to be in Eversource, and it's already going to be in our lowest option. And it goes up each year. For example, this year it's 27%. Next year it's actually going to be 30%. So that's required by the state. And then they picked 2 greener options, like a middle one and then a full mass Class 1. Everything is from Massachusetts renewable sources. That's the most expensive. So those 3 will probably, there's no proposal to change the classes at this time. We're just waiting to get the new pricing. So-
Okay.
Is this printed correctly, the program rates? It looks like the standard is more expensive than the basic. So is the basic the lowest?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
The Energy Committee chose that when you opt in, they wanted the default to be
The least.
They wanted the default to be the mass 5%, the mass request plus 5% of mass class 1 recs. So the mass request is that 27% or 30%. So that is the middle option that we offer. It's not very much more. If you'll see, it's in the thousands of pennies, probably
Right.
50 cents on your electric bill. But you can opt up or down from there.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So
So the
more
default-
green or the
Or
less
less green.
Or
expensive.
dark blue.
Yeah. No, dark blue is the standard.
Just dark blue
Standard.
is the standard default.
and then you
They
can go
chose
up.
that one.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not much higher than the optional basic, but if you want to be in the basic, you actually have to choose
Opt
down.
in. Okay.
Okay. And so let me ask you a question. The bids, who's bidding? This is providers offering and the
That
towns.
supply generation, not the delivery services. That's all owned by Eversource. They own the
Eversource,
poles, they own the wires. This is going to be who will provide the generated energy.
Okay.
We have a Dynergy
Yeah,
right
Dynergy,
now,
yeah.
but there's Comstar, there's Dynergy, there's 4 or 5 of them that are that do national and regional.
And so they
bidding.
bid,
They will bid.
and all the towns each pick individually, or we pick as a
No, you
unit?
pick one provider. They may not have the
Different
same
plans.
3
Got it.
tiers. We have about 8 different tiers, and they will price all of those tiers. And each town will choose which 3 they want to offer. But we will all settle on one provider. We must.
And
on
if
one
people
provider.
are, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no.
If people are already in this special town municipal group, when the contract renews, will they automatically renew, or do
Yes.
they need to re-up? They will
Nope.
automatically renew.
Nope.
And if they're in standard, basic, or optional,
They'll stay in the same class.
how do they change out of that if they want to
We
change?
have a link, I believe we have aggregation on our website. So you can go and see that
Okay.
on the website.
Would it, I would like to propose, I know Bernie knows a lot about the senior center. I think it might be rational to have a day in which we have somebody sitting to help seniors sign up, people who are less, maybe we don't say seniors, but people who are less adroit with computer and technology. Because I accidentally wasn't signed up to this, and to get on it, it was a little bit of a rigmarole, and so often there's that activation energy.
You're automatically on it unless someone opted out. So maybe the previous owner had opted
exactly,
out.
yeah.
Because it used to be the other way. It used to be that Eversource was your provider, and when you did aggregation,
You had to opt
opt in. The law changed. So right now, when you change your service, you should automatically, send you postcard, you are automatically
Mm-hmm.
opted into this. And Eversource, you have to opt out of this to go back. So
But when tenants take and they put on their own
they
own
can
electric,
choose a different provider if they like.
but they automatically were put not in this. They were automatically put in.
That's not how that operates. So
Okay. So maybe there was misunderstanding. Hence, my point that I think it might be useful to have a little bit of scaffolding for citizens.
So most everybody is in the
Automatically?
aggregation. There's very few people in town that have opted out, and it's like a handful.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep. And we generally rely on the Energy Committee too for their support and what they think should be done next too. So they've worked closely with Andrea. And I always look to them too if we think we need to put
Do
something.
they provide like tech support and stuff like that? if
Not
people
tech
have-
support, but if we need to put something on the website, then I would look to the Energy Committee to explain it, because they've been at the forefront of all of
They
these.
brought this to town and pushed, there was a process to do the aggregation that went through the Energy
Yep.
Committee too, actually.
And if you want to do anything at the senior center, you need to go through Colleen.
Of course. Yeah, I was just trying to. I was thinking of people lost on the computer.
Brainstorming.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, you actually have to opt out of the aggregation now.
Yep. And
And they do have
also,
to by law send postcards periodically,
yep.
telling people other options, so those will go out to people's homes.
Yep.
They automatically
I
have
think
to
it's
do
super
that as part
important.
of the.
I think citizens who don't understand about it, I think it's great for us to talk about these so that everybody knows.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I need a motion to authorize the
I
town.
make a motion to
Thank you.
authorize the municipal aggregate electrical pricing bid.
Second,
To authorize Andrea to
Right.
sign, to
Andrea,
represent.
Andrea.
Yeah, I have to sign it.
yeah, second that.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Good discussion. Okay, keeping on the energy theme.
Did you want to?
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Tom, come on up. We can, I'm on a roll. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming. We need, and the folks at home could use an annual update. I know you're psyched about this. And you have your years of experience, and I know everything. We're just going to caveat anything that you say with a weather caveat. That all scheduled
this year.
Yeah, especially with all that rain, right? So anyway, why don't you give us an update? And I'm assuming a lot of the update includes paving or your
Yep, quite a
plans
bit of
as
it.
well. Yeah.
Actually, tomorrow they're paving Pearson Road and Hamilton Drive. They ground that last week. Now that the water main got done up there.
Okay.
Then from there, there's gonna be a hold for a little bit on Warwick Road because Warwick is doing 8,000 or 9,000 ton. And all the dump trucks are gonna be going out Warwick Road, and I don't want them on our new road. So we're hoping it's done before the end of July, or the beginning of July, because it's a new contract, so we're hoping we can get under this contract.
Okay.
No guarantees, because Warwick's having all kinds of problems out there. So
Yeah.
I know they've they've done some of it, but then they've pulled out of there now and they're doing other towns, so.
They went over to Orange or something. I follow the Warwick Police Department always puts the notices up there, so, on Facebook.
I know that some of it's to do with the grinding and different areas and stuff, so I'm waiting to see what they're doing because it'll all go over our
Okay.
road.
Okay,
Those are the main roads that were supposed to get
Projects.
done last year, and projects that were supposed to get done. We're gonna have it edged, we're gonna be ready for them. They did new guardrail last week out on Warwick Road, and we got a little more to do for prep. Then this fall, we're hoping to go up, and once the ridge closes down again, we got most of the roads on the far end ready for paving. But we didn't get up there to get it paved before they started coming in.
oh, okay.
As far as I know, they're happy up there. They were ecstatic with the work that we've done so far, so.
That's good.
Some of them
That's
want it
good
paved
news.
and other ones don't want it paved, but they rather keep the dirt that we put there. It's hard because it's on a hill. So,
Yeah.
And then the other project, working with the sewer, hopefully to do part of Burnham Road from Winchester Road to North Lane. And then we have a problem starting to arise with a culvert that goes through that intersection. I have an engineer right now looking at it, but there's a culvert that goes from one side of, it's right in the intersection of North Lane and Burnham Road.
Oh, okay,
And it drains the brook out of the wetlands area that goes up by the school barns.
Okay.
The road to the ridge up through there, but there's a main culvert that crosses right through the intersection and it's starting to cave in.
okay, ooh,
So I got an engineer giving me a price. It probably won't get done this year unless it turns into an emergency, but he's giving me an estimate for the engineering cost for that.
okay,
And also the engineering cost for Warwick Road to be repaired from East Street to Burnham Road, the bad section. And I'm also working with the water department because they have a water main in there. So the same engineer is gonna work with us and work with them at the same time. Cause all the permitting is the same, so there's no sense of them spending millions of dollars as well as us, so they're contributing. I have talked to the water department, we still gotta come to, well, the guy just gave me his quote, but he had it all in one, so he just broke it up so that I can give them their share. So that'll be engineered for next year, hopefully.
okay.
To
And this is
find-
the Northfield Water District, right?
Yes,
Okay, not the
Yeah.
east, okay. East was last summer, I remember talking about that.
right, and that's what
Okay.
they finally did the end of.
For the Pearson
Road,
Hamiltons.
yeah.
Okay, progress, great,
Great to have everybody working together.
yeah,
Right. I mean, I wish they had done all of Pearson, but there's no problems from Hamilton down to the end. It's another 500, 600 feet, but the road was completely blown apart and full of potholes and everything, so. That was supposed to be done 5 years ago, but we were waiting on the water line.
yeah. And anytime you need to close something too, I mean, I know Sandra's always putting up
Oh, yeah,
the notice, so.
Yeah, this happened faster because they got canceled in Warwick. This wasn't supposed to
Yeah.
be done until the middle of June or so, and then they called me last week and said, we got time, can we come grind? And it's one of those, you take it when you can get it this time of
Right.
year, because they're all over the place,
Yeah.
so. And then the other big project this summer is that Highland Ave, hopefully this rain stops and it dries out, because right now there's a lot of water.
We're gonna cross our fingers and cross our toes.
But that can't start until July 1, right?
Right. The power company's been, actually met with a power company today, they're gonna put up a temporary pole
Okay.
for power for the pumps. I think so far the waters, there's still a question on the water line that's there, but we're gonna work through it either way, whether we have to move it when we get into the project or how it works, nobody really knows,
Is it one of those things you have to open up the patient, so to speak, to,
pretty much.
okay,
And we have an idea how deep it is, but the engineer's nervous we're gonna be right on top of it.
okay.
So not sure what he wants to do.
He wants you to be careful.
Well, if we're right on top of it, the problem is it's freezing.
Yeah.
Right now,
Oh.
because we have to go 2 feet deeper, we actually have to go 4 feet deeper than the original and bring it back up 2 feet.
Oh,
And that's what they're afraid we're gonna be into it. They thought it went over the culvert and it goes under the, it doesn't actually go under the culvert that's there, but the new one is a little longer with a flared end, puts it over the top of it.
Same size, bigger, smaller?
It's a little smaller culvert, but you have to put 2 feet of dirt inside it. So you have to go 2 feet deeper than the pre-existing culvert that's there. So you can put 2 feet of natural dirt inside it. So that's at this point, I have been in touch with the water, everybody's on board, nobody, I mean, and they wanted us to dig a test hole out there, and there's an actual water shut-off cover there, and I pulled it off the other day, and the water's at the top of it, so.
Yeah.
Us digging down another 4 feet's kind of senseless to, we know we're gonna be in water, and you're not gonna be able to see anything when you really find it, so.
right.
Plus, with the conservation stuff, there was a question whether we could even dig till July, but they wanted the answers before July.
Right.
So, but after we found the water the other day, I said I mean, you'd be beating your head against the wall digging the water. I mean, if you have to do it, you can do it, but to do it for an exploratory,
Doesn't make any
it
sense.
doesn't make sense.
Okay,
Other than that, the regular maintenance, we're almost, if the rain would stop, we'd probably got another week of grading. And
I
then
love how it's, if the rain will stop, it's gonna
Yeah.
everything, yeah,
it affects everything we do.
yeah.
You
If it's
can't
not
grade, it
rain,
makes
it's snow.
mud.
Yeah.
Right. So, and they have started some roadside mowing already, because that's actually growing faster than normal too, and now with the rain.
Because of the rain. Did you guys get that new safety card? Is that,
Not yet.
that we order, that we
I'm in the
voted on?
process of ordering, and I had to, there's a lot more to it.
Yeah,
They don't tell you everything until you're in the middle of it.
Right.
And then it's different size pumps. Now we have to make sure the tractor we have and work on a tractor, so we've been,
Oh.
in between the rainy days, we've been working on our own tractor to figure out if our tractor puts out enough gallons. The funny part about the whole thing is all the videos they send you on it, it's an identical tractor that we have.
right.
They're trying to say ours doesn't put out enough
horsepower?
oil.
or-
No,
Well, you know what you should really
the
do
flow
is
of the oil for the blades
Oh,
and
gotcha.
stuff, so. I think we've got to figure, I wanted to run the blower at the same time on the back, because you're gonna make a mess and then you can clean it up. But if we have to change it to make it work the way we wanna make it work, we won't be able to use the blower on the back of the tractor, that's the only difference.
Okay,
But we think we came up this morning with a couple solutions on replumbing stuff and making it work,
Nice.
hopefully.
good.
Is there any plan to fill in the ever-widening ditch on Gulf Road that's bisected it?
Which one now?
It's got the dip sign in front of it.
Oh.
Yeah, we were gonna do that last week and then we got rained out too.
I'm just curious, what caused that?
Well, we had to put an emergency culvert in there.
So when
And
you
the
cut
day
the
that
road-
we did it, it was pouring rain.
Oh.
And we paved
I
it
didn't
and it
mind.
was nothing but mud.
So it's
And now the mud is finally dried and settling.
Yeah.
So, no, it's on the list. I know now that they're paving tomorrow, it's supposed to rain again Thursday.
Yep.
Yep.
So hopefully at the beginning of next week, we're gonna be patching. And that's the first on the list. But other than that,
Anything
people
else?
down
Yeah, I
there.
have another question.
no, it doesn't. You'd be
Buy 'em
amazed, watching in front of my house all weekend long, there's some potholes and people don't, they
Oh,
don't,
that's true.
they don't care. Oh, yeah, well, that's all you hear all night long.
Oh, no.
I had
Go ahead.
one more question, which is when we were talking about the culvert and the rearranging, there was also a road out to the sewer plant. Is that anywhere in this?
Paving that?
Yeah,
It's on the list to be done, it's
Okay.
not a high priority. If we have some money left or something, we were gonna work down through there. Plus, we were gonna do some work down there and with heavy trucks, clearing the trees up top there and stuff, so I don't really want
pave
to.
later.
Right away.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you gonna be able to take some of that hump out when you pave, or you?
Well,
blend it
that's
in?
all the deal with that water line. That whole thing will be reconfigured once the water line gets put across the tracks.
Okay.
That was the plan that I was waiting on. So it's all, cause it's gonna have to get dug up for that. So when it's dug up, then we can tear it all out and raise it up. I don't know how you guys are making out on the water line.
We're not posted for a meeting, so,
No.
yeah. We can get back to you on that.
And then one last thing was the temporary electric pole. They like to come in and bring in temporary electric poles and then not take them out.
No, we're actually, I have a telephone pole, we're putting it up.
Oh, you're putting it
I
up.
have to hire an electrician to put it all together.
Got it, okay.
So the electrician got a hold of the power company we met, and then we have an old pole that we'll bring over, put up, but we'll take it down.
Okay.
And that is a project we are, actually, I met with them today. I don't know if anything will come of it, up on the mountain, because there's so many double poles that everybody's complaining about, but they are working with Verizon. It's something to do with the two unions. But
Yeah, it's,
the guy, they're hoping they can
Convoluted.
change it so they can get, because there's a bunch of poles up South Mountain. There's a few on Beers Plain that are all double poled because Verizon hasn't moved their stuff over.
Right.
And that's all that needs to be done for those poles to be removed. So they want to put more new poles in. So we do have a little bit of leverage when they come forth for the pole hearing. And the guy knows that. I spoke with him today and he says, no, I agree. Plus they had a bunch of wood they didn't pick up after they did the whole job. They have 90% of it picked up. They came in last week. Because they said, before I do anything, you gotta clean the wood that you promised was gonna be picked up. We've been mowing around it for over a year.
Wood meaning excess poles that they just left?
Well, no, they cut a bunch of trees off the back side and they were supposed to come pick all the big stuff up. They had a bunch over by our garage down 142, 4 Mile Brook.
And
That
they-
we approved for work, but the agreement is they cut it, they pick it up, they haul it all away.
Right.
Well, they
'Cause otherwise
just,
it costs
they
us
cut
money,
it,
yeah.
they left it all laying in our ditches and the woods, everywhere else, and I've had people saying, when are they coming back? The girl's been really good that actually did the job, I've been in touch with her for over a year. But they were in here last week picking stuff up,
Great.
so.
good. Okay, and the funding front, I'm just making a couple of notes here. But before I do that, are there any other streets that people would be interested in
School
that?
Street, the engineers, we're waiting to hear.
I
I spoke with a lady.
You finally
I did
got
spoke
someone?
with her.
Oh, boy.
But she did admit to me, when she gets the state, the estimate, that could be another couple months. After she gets it to them, it could be 2 to 3 months for them to look at it and
Okay.
approve it, for them to move forward.
Okay,
We're talking about the school street bridge for
Yeah,
folks
for
who
the,
listen.
this is
Just
just
the
for the
engineering.
engineering.
Oh, my goodness.
We got a grant a year ago.
Yeah, so you're
2
not,
years ago now.
so you're not looking to have that done for a year or so, probably.
We gotta get the
It
engineering.
won't be this year.
No.
I
And we
mean,
have
if
to
it's
apply
this
for
year,
grant.
it's gonna be late fall.
yeah,
Then we
She
have to-
understands the
We can apply in
problem.
the spring for a small bridge grant after that, but we have
Yeah.
to get the engineering in time.
She's aware of it, she has been out here, so she understands the problem that we're having. I explained with school buses, fire trucks, everybody, the inconvenience of.
People
because
walking.
People walking, and she says, I can see why now, so she is gonna try to move it
oh, good,
as fast as possible. It's a different engineer than we had picked, it's, Fuss and O'Neill, they're out of Boston area. And I
okay,
guess they do a lot of work. Actually, my neighbor works for a private contractor, and he says they work a lot with these guys.
okay, good.
So hopefully that can get,
Let's make sure we get
Push
Northfield
along.
prices instead of Boston prices.
Well, the state, this is a state contract, the state
Right.
pays for this is a grant, so they're paying for the engineering, so.
I know, but that money comes from somewhere, so I think it's always
Well, I'm
wise.
hoping that, I think they have some pretty set rules, but.
Yeah.
right.
I just have a question, so I see that you filed for Chapter 90 for Pine Meadow Road, got a partial disbursement. I sent you all the stuff on the sidewalk stuff.
Yeah, she's sending that in.
Okay, great.
this
Yeah, I
week.
figured if I gave you all the invoices.
That actually, today I did get a confirmation that you should be getting the check, because he did send back that the.
Yes, I saw, I got that too.
Yeah,
I got the,
yeah,
yes, you're approved,
yeah.
so.
Okay,
And then have you talked to them on Pratt Hollow?
We've been looking, Sandy's looked here last week for us, the other girl, Wendy.
woman,
It would be cheaper for us if we could find when it was put in, if we had paperwork, but as far as I can figure out, I think I narrowed it down to put it in the 85, so we have to re-engineer it all. So now I was gonna apply for Chapter 90, I gotta get the actual culvert company that I spoke with about the head walls before this other problem arose with it. they can do the engineering at a lot less cost, in-house. But he was hoping that I could find some information so he didn't have to go through all the calculations for the wetlands, all that stuff. But unfortunately, I've been through every box, every file. The other day it was pouring rain, I actually had Raina go through all the files to see if I missed something and, you know, back through the stuff to see if we could find anything, but unfortunately, there's no paperwork, so we gotta start from scratch. But it, basically that whole culvert that's there is gonna have to come out because it's failing. It's not just a matter of putting the wing walls on anymore, which it has definitely settled. The box is settled since we talked about the wing walls. The wing walls haven't moved that are there, but there's two boxes put together. They're like this, and this one's falling down.
Oh,
And then, so we developed a few weeks ago a sinkhole out there. We've been out now, we put bigger stone in it,
Yeah.
and we've actually put some cement in there with the stone the other day before the rain.
And you talked to the residents since,
I spoke with them
Recently.
at length last
right?
Thursday.
I just want to make sure, because.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
No,
And
last
that would have
Thursday, I
been
told
after
them
they-
all about it, and I told them that
Good, good.
we're gonna look for grants, we're gonna look for whatever we can.
Well, if you get the engineering done now at this point, then we can go
Yeah.
for the culvert grant
Oh,
next year. But it'll take the
So-
engineering a little time.
so is that something that we could get into the grant cycle then for the spring? Are we at
The
that?
grant cycle is
Is that
next
sounds?
year
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
now, so it won't be till next.
And if anything else
Right.
comes up, I mean, for grant wise, in between, I mean, it's
Yeah.
worth,
Yep,
we know we gotta do something.
yeah, okay.
We've done a temporary fix.
And there's not, and with
There's no
the,
guarantee on it, it could get worse tomorrow, it
Okay.
could last for 10 years, you don't, it's one of those, the water somehow is getting underneath it, and it's
And
hollowing
eroding.
the earth out underneath, so as we get these torrential rains, it's dropping down.
okay. And were they concerned about a safety issue, is that?
Yeah, well, the sinkhole, there was a sinkhole about 4 or 5 inches around, and you could see right down in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But you
that
couldn't
would-
really see anything but dirt. Well, then we poured some stone in, and then I walked around, and after we poured the stone in, you could watch it coming right through the crack. So we knew it was, last year
Not good.
when the water was really low, I walked through it, because you can walk through it, it's just a 2-box thing, but it was only separated about an inch, now it's about 4.
Oh, okay,
So with the rains, pretty much the end of last year, and the rain we've had so far this year, it's definitely gotten worse.
yeah.
So
The
you're gonna-
most they have is oil truck or gas truck that goes out
Right, it's
there.
just one resident.
Yeah.
Right, I know, it's one house up
But
there.
as for, I don't know how often they pump the septic because they don't live there all the time.
Oh,
So I'm not, it's not a,
Heavy-
it's a year-round residence, but they don't live there year-round, so I
Oh,
don't,
okay.
I mean, as for any big trucks, and when I talked to him, I said that, and he told me the biggest thing he's gonna need is gas deliveries. But I think they could actually stop at the bridge and pull the hose to this tank. But,
So you're gonna work on getting the engineering done, and I will work on finding a grant for the culvert
yeah,
replacement.
I'm gonna
I
call,
mean, it takes till next year to get the
Right.
engineering.
okay,
I mean, the guy that I've been dealing with from Michi Corp was the one that I met out there with a
Okay.
week or so ago. And he's been very good about it, and he says, you know, he said, I'll give you a little time, if you can't find anything, call me, so my intention is calling him tomorrow.
okay,
He said, unfortunately, we haven't found anything.
okay. Great. Any other questions?
No.
I'm just gonna note, Tom, proactively that, so we're heading into the end of the year, so I was gonna ask about chapter 90, because I know that's always a thing this time of year. And also then with the start of the new fiscal year, then you have a new highway laborer position. So I wanted to kind of get a jump on that, and we'll look at assigning somebody from the select board to be on the committee with you,
Yeah.
just like before. So I don't know if you saw that on the agenda, but I just wanted to let
No,
you know
I
we
didn't.
were getting ahead of that.
Okay, no,
So
that's
then
fine.
it could be, can it be advertised in June so that we're ready to go?
Yeah, we just can't hire till July.
Right, okay. So we could be like, ready to go
Yeah.
right after the start
For
of,
both those positions.
yeah, for both.
Yeah, it's on the
Yep,
agenda.
yep.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and like I said, give dates once I know for like Warwick Road. We'll put our sign up
Okay.
too as well, so that people know.
We'll schedule you for, what, the fall before the snow comes?
It's not coming this year.
Okay.
Yeah, we will
From
actually-
your lips,
It's gonna be
yeah.
rain all the time.
It's gonna be ice, which even worse.
No, you don't need to, I'd rather snow.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right,
I
don't
figured you'd
jinx
do that.
them. Don't jinx
All
them.
right. thank you.
Okay, thanks,
Careful what
Tom.
you
Yeah.
wish for.
All righty. Okay, FERCog Regional Energy Planning Assistance Memorandum of Understanding. And again, this affects and is supported by the Energy Committee. So, do you want to just give us a brief
Sure.
overview for everyone at home?
The Energy Committee's been participating in the Green Communities Grant process for many, many years now.
Yep.
And they go after grants, and they've done many projects, mostly at the school and the library, a lot of work there. Every year, there's quarterly reports on those projects, but there's a large annual report, and it's very complicated, and it involves all sorts of calculations and BTUs and all that. So the FERCog has habitually, year after year, been able to get state funding to help multiple towns with that final report. They've become quite good at it. They understand it. So
They can crank it out.
this is just, you've done this before, you've signed the same MOU, is basically for them to
Go ahead and do it.
assist doing that annual
And it
report.
doesn't cost us anything? They-
No.
they
Right,
do
'cause
it
it's
with
a grant.
grants.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay,
Good.
But they need the contract for the grant.
yeah, I understand, yeah.
Any other questions or discussions?
No, okay, right here.
Just want to get that out of the way.
Did we need to sign something on that?
Do we
Yeah, you
need-
have to vote to
Yeah.
let her sign. I think it's,
Vote to let me, so I need a motion for me to, for the chair to
Okay, I'll
sign
make a
it.
motion to allow the chair, B. Jock, to sign the FERCog Regional Energy Planning Assistance Memorandum of Understanding.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll get that taken care of. All right.
Is this part of it right here? I'm just, the last page, where it requires all of our signatures?
I can't tell what that is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that it does. You have a copy in there. I didn't print one out because it seems like a
We
waste.
have a couple of things to
So
sign.
it may have all of you. I don't know.
Let me
What
see.
does it say on the back? Yep. It looks like it
Oh,
has,
sorry. Yep.
it does have,
And it has a little sticky that says all signed.
Yes, yes.
that's Sandra.
We've got two things.
Thank
One
you,
is,
Sandra.
yeah.
Yeah,
Nice
two
motion,
different
Bernie.
signatures.
Okay, well, then I'll change that motion to.
Motion to sign.
We'll agree to sign.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Motion to approve the FERCog Regional Energy Planning Assistance Memorandum of Understanding.
Second.
Great. All those in favor for all of us signing? Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, and we'll put the date on there. Sorry, I've got two in here, and I was looking at, thought that went to the second sticky, but not the case. Okay.
And back, Sarah.
And
It's like a
back.
cha-cha.
Cha-cha. Two steps forward and one step to the side. Little cha-cha. Okay. All right, let's move
Do you
on.
keep this or do I hand it off?
You can give it to me. I'll make sure I scan it and send it to them.
Yeah. Get it out of my hands. All right, so now we're on to select board assignments for the screening hiring committees for FY26, and there's two, one for the highway labor that we just talked about, and also for building maintenance. So just wanted to see if anyone wanted to volunteer.
I'd like to do the highway labor because I'm liaising. I can do both if necessary, but that's depending on who volunteers.
Okay, building maintenance?
I'll do that one.
Oh, okay. Great. All righty. Good, and then you'll, Andrea, you'll let us know when those are posted and we're, because this is still May, so,
Yeah, I'll probably
Okay.
hold off
And
till
that's
June.
both for screening and hiring.
yeah.
Yeah, and
And
sometimes
how
you've had
many-
one person, sometimes you've had two. If
Yeah.
more people are interested, that's really up to the board.
Yep. Great. Okay, thank you. And Dan
Dan who said building maintenance, right?
Yep.
I was writing and didn't look up, I didn't.
Now we're on to special municipal employee designation for Dan Campbell.
So I had a question on this because
Okay.
I think that I don't think we need to do the special municipal employee designation. I understand the request to approve here, but we're all special municipal employees. Yeah, we
Yeah.
are, according to the
So
little
why
video
don't-
that we all have to watch.
Why don't we back up 1 second? So can you
Okay.
just explain what the form is and how it applies to Dan's situation? And then we can talk about
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Right. In certain towns under a certain amount of people, there are certain things that are automatically allowed, but
Under
and we
10,000?
do special municipal employees every year, Sandra, right? There's a handful of special municipal employees as defined by this general law. And because Dan is not just going to be on the select board, but is also an employee, this comes up as not just, because I'm a town under 5,000, I can serve on different committees. This actually has a financial disclosure, and so he has to be voted as a special municipal employee.
An appointed employee, right? Remember? I'm
Well-
telling the people.
He's not appointed to these.
The clerk is appointed.
Yes, he's hired. Yes, I thought you were saying like a,
Because the town clerk used to be an elected position.
right,
Yeah.
but he's
And now it's
hired
an
as an
appointed
assistant.
position.
Well, the assistant always was appointed.
So this isn't the first time that this has come up, because when I was on finance committee and town clerk, I had to fill out the same form.
Right.
And the only thing that comes up, if anything had anything to do with my salary or anything, I recused myself and left the room.
Right.
And I would, in some instances, I still would have to do that. This was, I went through this with the lawyer for the ethics committee.
Oh, lawyer of the day?
Yeah, the lawyer of the day.
Ethics has their
The
own.
lawyer of the day, and I explained all the scenarios, and basically what it came down to is because we have less than 3,500 residents in the town, there's special legislation, and the letter that you see in here and all the information actually was forms that were sent to me by the ethics committee or ethics commission. not
Right.
committee, Ethics commission.
For
to
the
be
state,
filled out
yeah.
to have on file. So this is, this is basically paperwork that has to be done because of the situations, so.
And you've done this before, you said.
I did it when I first started as town clerk. I had to
And
do it because
finance.
I was appointed as finance committee.
Right.
And I had the only thing with finance committee as far as doing that, we don't recommend people's salaries, but we do recommend COLAs. So the fact that we recommend COLAs just eliminates me from voting, and I take it one step further, I leave the room. And the same would hold true if you're discussing different things that have to do with salary for that position. I would recuse myself and leave, and I would announce that before. So that's the way you take care of it. So you take yourself out of a situation where it can look like a conflict of interest.
Okay.
But you did that before, and then last year, when David was elected to select board, then you already knew.
Well, actually, I wasn't sure, because we checked before the election. We even did that. I double checked, and what it actually came down to is not being chair. So which I am no longer chair of the finance committee. So.
So I
But
just,
you could have still been on if you really wanted to. That was found out
Okay.
after the fact.
I just want to point out, we're talking about the special municipal
Correct.
employee.
Yes.
Because you are the assistant town clerk. So
Correct.
you're an employee and you're disclosing that.
But also finance committee is listed there.
Let me
He already
finish.
has that process done. This is for select board.
But this piece of paper says assistant town clerk and finance committee, so that's why I'm bringing it up.
That's fine.
He's already done the finance committee one, though.
So why did we get handed it, and why does it have both of them on there?
He's just disclosing that
He's just
has
being
to.
more transparent.
That's fine. I'm just saying that's why
Yeah.
we can discuss it, because it's literally on this stuff that we're discussing.
Yeah, but
And
I,
again, it was at the recommendation and asked of the attorney for the Ethics Commission for the state of Massachusetts.
Okay.
okay. I just want to clarify for folks at home that there's two separate
Correct.
pieces to this discussion. I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm just saying for clarity purposes, the thing that needs to be approved and signed by the chair is the special municipal employee information.
Correct.
And I think if we want to get into more discussion about people being on committees, right, on multiple committees, then we can do that, but that's, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. I'd rather do that as a separate topic if need be, because as a small town, we have a lot of people who are on multiple committees. And the finance committee is not under the purview of the select board anyway. It's
Yep.
under the purview of the town moderator. Okay, so anything else? All right, so can I get a motion to have the chair sign the special municipal employee designation for Dan Campbell?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain because of circumstances.
Oh, right. Aye.
I'm going to abstain also, because I think the finance committee is something separate. I think you shouldn't be on it, because I think we need to be consistent.
Yeah, but we're just doing the
So
form.
that's why I'm
Yeah,
abstaining.
that's fine. Okay, so 3 yeses and 2 abstains. Okay. Thank you, Dan, and thanks for doing, I think that's always good to let people know that, you know, there is the Ethics Commission and you can call them. Okay, next. Schedule. And Sandra gave us, it was in writing in the packet, but she's given us a highlighted representation of the summer schedule. So the next meeting, what we've done in the past and what you have in front of you is the proposal to work around the holidays over the summer, and also so people get
Every
3
3
weeks
weeks.
here and there instead of being on the 2-week schedule. It's worked out in the past, and you know, sometimes people go on vacation. Just let the town secretary and the town administrator know in case there's a quorum issue. So under this schedule, the next meeting would be June 17th. So any questions or discussion on the schedule?
Yes.
Okay.
So when we look at November, I understand, so we've got the 4th, there's only one meeting in November, and then I think that the 23rd is going to be hard to meet. So the 4th is Election Day, right? And the 11th is Veterans Day. That's of November. Also, we have a fall meeting, right? We have a regular special town meeting that we've agreed that we will do in the fall. So I'd like to, we don't have to discuss it now, but I'd like to put on the table that we think through those things, because I think that's a really big gap in November, and I think the 23rd of December is not a good time to meet, and I think that we need to put the meeting on there.
Yeah, we're just doing the summer right now. We'll do the fall when we get to the fall.
Well, these yellow ones were yellowed, and so
Yep.
that's why because September has changed based on that.
Yeah.
So I'd
Well-
just like to put the vote into, let's talk about that, because I see some issues with the schedule
In November.
in November.
Yep.
And
And then September,
And
yeah.
December.
And we always end up talking about the
We get back to
holidays.
normal on September 30th as
Yeah.
far as our schedule.
Yeah. We're also trying to work around Labor Day weekend too. That's the
And
reason
the-
why.
And the warrant weeks. It's better when they're on warrant weeks, otherwise people have to come in
Right.
extra Tuesdays. So we try to get back on the warrant weeks.
But also, and that town meeting is going to
Yep.
be an issue. So
Yep.
just, there's a lot to schedule-wise talk about.
So as we get further into the year and we close in, let's say September 30th, because we'll also be doing the budget calendar too. So we can talk about those two at the same time. And then just make a note for of the red to come in and sign the warrant.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, we usually do one in the fall after summer, so we'll see another calendar.
Okay. Anything else?
Town-owned title tax.
Yeah, David, this was on there from when Bernie was chair. I think this was yours. Is that, and I put it on here.
Yeah, I wanted to, because this is what, our second whack at trying to get town-owned properties under our purview, so we can move them along towards maybe generating some income for the town.
Right.
If it comes down to that, at least give us the option to explore that a little bit more. So there seem to be enough well-intentioned barriers to getting that done. So my suggestion is if we're going to do this again, we get every commission, anybody who's interested in any of this property to look at it before we have this conversation in terms of a warrant again at town meeting. Look at the properties.
It'd be useful to look at them, because some of them are so tiny, there's not gonna be any money.
Is there a bottle that's a 100-year-old piece of trash? Is there a body? Is there a bird? What's on the property? So there's no
Well-
people throwing up, we need to go look at these properties, and which is fine, go look at the properties, but let's get all that legwork done by all these commissions and committees ahead of time so we can say we've addressed all that. Because it seems like we haven't.
Right,
Well,
Not
because
saying
they're,
we
and maybe
didn't.
have an open citizen thing
I'm just saying
too.
it looks like we haven't because maybe they were
Yeah.
not interested enough to do their legwork or whatever, but this is the second time we've spent
Well, and it wasn't
time in a
brought-
meeting to discuss this,
okay, let David finish, Sarah, please.
Of course.
Yeah,
you know?
okay,
We did this again 3 years
Yep.
ago we tried this? Or 2 years ago?
Two.
Seems like 3.
2.
2 years
2
ago?
years in a
Yep.
row.
And we got shot down.
every year.
And we got shot down again for apparently the same things from my perspective.
So, do we,
Okay, let Sarah go and then Dan.
I was, I
Agreeing?
forgot, I lost my
Sorry,
train
I
of
think
thought.
you were agreeing and yeah.
so do we have a process where we do have the committees to go out there and it's their obligation to do this so that, because this is town property, that they should
No.
do their job, due diligence or whatever?
So
to check
I
these out?
remembered what I was gonna say. So,
Okay.
it wasn't
come back to
ever requested of the, at least of Conscom, or Open Space, to go out and look at it. So that when we came, this was brought to a vote of the citizens, and then a bunch of citizens said, hey, this has got to be reviewed by, this has got to be looked at by. They mentioned it in the town meeting, but we haven't ever discussed it here, and therefore it's not something that anybody's laid down on the job for. It was that it wasn't brought up or requested of the folks, right?
So it sounds to me that you need a process in which to do this if you have properties that you want. And maybe you look at half a dozen a year to do it that way so that they aren't overburdening the other committees. So I don't know if that would be something that would be looked at or could be done, and maybe bring in some of the chairs for the different committees that would probably be overseeing and looking at this. And some of us will probably, that are on those committees, that probably know the properties because they've been here for years. And they could give some input into, well, there's really nothing there, or this is landlocked.
Well, okay, I think,
Yeah.
so I hear, Bernie, what's your take on this,
Well,
or ideas?
my concern is if we only do like a half dozen pieces of property, they start having problems with 2 or 3 of them. Now you only have 3 properties, and you're gonna have a hard time getting somebody that wants to auction off 3 properties.
Well, then
So
we
you
need,
have to do a bigger, I think you're gonna have to do a bigger group, and you have to post it out there, a good month before we set our warrant. And they come in at the warrant meeting and talk about it. They're still gonna bitch at the town meeting.
well, and again, people have to understand that this is property that's been sitting around. We're not collecting any on it. Some of them are probably useless as far as that. Maybe
Yeah.
a neighbor might want to pay, 10 cents on a dollar, whatever, to get it off our hands, but then it becomes back on the tax rolls. And it's the one way that people keep saying they want to somehow reduce taxes. Well, you reduce taxes by allowing these properties to be sold, and then they become part of the tax rolls. Or if it's not usable properties, I mean, I would say that you have to have some kind of a way of, one, getting it out to the public so that they understand. And 2, if there's areas where you think you need to get one of the committees or commissions involved, then you reach out to them and say, hey, we want to look at 20 pieces of property. And we want to do this. It's maybe take more than a year to do this, because you want to have them look at all the properties and say, these are good to sell because they are building lots. It would be a smart thing to be able to sell these. And those would be auctioned off fairly quickly, I would say. And if a neighbor wanted to buy it, they would be in a process of buying it also, so. But I think you gotta have a plan going ahead, because it seems like people are thinking that we're unloading properties for dirt cheap, and I don't think that's the reason. So I think that we want to increase or decrease the taxes, and this is
Right.
one way of doing it.
Yep.
I'd like to, so I think that assuming that because people don't agree, they don't understand, is dangerous. I think, I passed out copies of the map, both this meeting and last meeting. Some of those properties are infinitesimal. They're so small, they're not going to be a lot of money. So the other fallacy, I think, is to say that we're going to be getting a lot of income from it. I don't think that that's accurate, at least not the ones that we have out there. We've talked about one of them, which is actually listed as 3. There's an area that has some very serious issues with it. We've talked about that. There are a couple of really tiny ones. And one of the issues that people are concerned about is the connectivity on some of those properties. So I think we can't go forward and say, oh, the people don't know, and if they only understood us, they would vote for us. I think some people are voting against it. Let me just finish. I think that some people are voting against it for principled reasons. They believe that it's not a good idea. So we should
Okay.
not assume
Right,
that
you're right. And
ignorance.
so our job here is not to make assumptions, our job is to communicate outward.
Yeah.
So, and I think we were getting to some sort of process that people are expressing an interest in. So I'd like to just move the discussion toward how we actually solve the problem. And I have one question before we do that, which is if the property is not it's in the care and custody of the treasurer, what are the restrictions on us saying, all right, everybody, come join a process, and are there any restrictions? I just want to double check.
Road, right?
Oh, I don't think there's any restrictions on that. I mean, actually, in truth,
I'm double checking.
well, in truth, some of these properties, the tax collector can sell them without you. Land of low value, the tax collector can sell. So actually, there's a whole nother process. But we kind of backed off doing that because we figured, residents wanted to know. But there is a land of low value process. The tax collector can actually sell some of these properties on her own, which may be okay. Some of these tiny slivers of property, let her sell them. They, don't need to even pay part percentage to an auctioneer. But we didn't do that. But she doesn't really have any authority to do anything other than that. I would just caution that whatever process you come up with, that you actually ask some of these committees that they want to be part of it, because, I don't know who you're going to think about, but like if you say to the rec commission, look at every one of these properties, the rec commission's going to look at you and go, we meet once a month. Like we don't
Right.
want to be part of this, or those are too small. Why would we ever even look at them? So we just want to make sure we take into account that these are volunteers before we put a process on them, that we consult them about the process as well.
How about if, I'm trying to be practical here and also chunk the work, right? Because we don't want to create some sort of massive project involving multiple committees, and then all of us somehow get involved and it takes, it's like Tom's projects, right? And then 2 years from now, we emerge.
I did have an answer to your question, though, about whether we
Yeah,
just
no,
go
I'm
look
fine
at
with that. Let me
Okay.
just finish this thought. And in chunking it, I'm wondering, because what we've presented, which I do think is confusing, is we've presented different types of properties together as one bundle. I think it would be helpful if we have some clear, obvious things that would be conservation restriction, for example. I think we should group those, and then that would tell us, you have some very interested committees that we could maybe narrow down the number and make the process smaller for conservation restriction properties, because I don't want to assume anything, but I'm assuming there would be less discussion, less agita over properties that are properly restricted, right? And so that they wouldn't go into a auction. We wouldn't be selling them. So I'd like to chunk the different types of properties. That way, if we've got out of the 20, we've got 5 that are actually sellable, then put all of those together as a package. Put all of the CR type properties together. And then, for example, with the Historical Commission, then we can actually just look at them. Some of the ones that were on there, I already know they're right around a historical property, so it's kind of a no-brainer. It's not like we even need to go walk it, right? So I'm thinking, yeah, let's come up with a process, but let's keep it simple and targeted on a specific portion of those properties. What do you think about that? I think it'd be workable.
You keep mentioning 20, but we've brought several times, 9?
Yeah,
to
because
the
we've been
town.
trying to chunk a group of them. And I think if we just look at all of them and say, what are the ones that are likely, would be the obvious, maybe no-brainer types? And I'm just thinking CR is a no-brainer. I might be wrong on that. Because what is the process for, if we put something in a CR,
It's a law.
right, so then people wouldn't, I mean, for the person at home, if we put a CR on a piece
Can you
of
tell me what
property.
CR is?
Yeah,
Conservation restriction.
yeah,
It's a permanent legislative tool to preserve the property, so it can never be
developed.
developed. It can't be, it has to be, the law has to literally go to state and be rescinded before you can actually take something out. It's not impossible, but I'm not sure it's ever happened.
Okay,
And that can be protective, not just of an environmental thing, but where they're a
Historical.
property of historical,
Yeah.
where they're a property that if it got dug into, it wouldn't be a good idea. That can be, it can be protective of the town because we don't have the liability of the
Yeah,
digging
Right,
in.
no, the CR, you don't have to give a motivation for pursuing.
Right, no.
yeah,
And as far as visiting, if we chunk via, with regard to usefulness or use, folks can, if anything that's visible from the public road, they can walk or drive by and go look
Yep.
at them, so.
I think if we got the whole list again and went over those, right? Put it in one of the homework packets, and then when people have had a chance to review it, so I actually want people to look at them and figure out how you guys feel about them. I'm looking at it mostly from a historical standpoint, to be honest, because of my other hat that I wear. But, you know, if there's something on there that, because usually conservation and historical line up pretty nicely, has been my experience on properties, but. And then and then we can group the things that have a chance of actually making some money for the town. And that might be a different discussion, different committees, et cetera. You think?
I'm in agreement.
Some kind of process.
Okay.
Because it looks like we're just shotgunning this,
Yeah.
and the town clearly is not interested in.
Yeah, as
moving
long as
forward
they
with
don't
this.
decide to do something that costs us money.
Well,
Well-
conservation restriction will cost you some money.
Yeah, well,
You can plan for
but
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's other, depending what they want to use the property for.
And just remember those small pieces, if an abutter buys them, even if you think there might be some significant, they can't do anything with them. It's not a building lot. It's not like they can all of a sudden build on this tiny little parcel.
Right,
So
okay.
an
They're
abutter
not,
might
they're not
just
big
want.
enough for an ADU.
No.
Oh, no, generally speaking,
Yeah.
they want to just buy it to, as a
Protect their own
protection.
property.
It abuts their property and
Yeah.
that way they have.
It's like a buffer space for their property.
But there's some place for like utility easements or stuff like that people are interested in too. That's the other care comment that I've heard, so.
Okay. Do you know which properties those are?
Yeah, when we all look at it together, let's
Yeah,
discuss
can
it.
you, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, is just from a process standpoint, the first step to me would be chunk the properties into what you think what we think would be the likely action, right?
The rational.
And then develop a small, lightweight process for each of those. And then only take forward what we think, you know, let's get a little success going, right? So if we think, I'm just going to say, I'm focused on the CR ones myself, if we take a chunk of CRs and then we say to people, we heard, we understand, this is what we decided to do instead, we have it, we'll talk about them at public meetings, et cetera, and the info sessions, et cetera, put it on the website so that by the time we get to the annual town meeting, I'm not envisioning this happening this summer, then we've got a warrant article that we can all,
That the citizens can know what they're.
right, but we all, we're feeling good about our recommendation. Yeah.
People will come to the microphone and say, yeah, I've got no issue with this because
Yeah, you explained it.
we've done
Yeah.
our homework from
Yeah.
this perspective.
Yeah,
That's what I'm looking for.
okay.
And the idea of splitting them, compartmentalizing, I think is a good one.
Okay, good. So why don't we just get the whole list and then we'll distribute it in the next packet. I'm going to put it on the proposed agenda topic, maybe a little ways out so everybody has time. It's not like we need to do it all in the next 2 weeks.
We have 2 years apparently. That's about how often we take a swim.
We have at least we have a
No, it
little.
was last year and this year.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, okay, we can shoot for annual town meeting again in
There was
May.
something that we were gonna put on
It
this
was, fall
agenda
and
that
spring,
isn't here.
so-
Oh, the flag committee.
That's on the proposed list because we don't have any volunteers up. That's going to go under announcements. Okay. All right. Good. So we'll group the list, distribute it, percolate, and I'll put it on the proposed agenda list. It won't be for June 17th, but we'll figure that out based on how things are lining up. Okay.
I have one more question on that. So we're gonna group the list and distribute it. We
No,
can
we're gonna-
distribute it to the citizens, right, so that they can see also?
I think we should take a look first and, yeah.
So my question is, because it's not been us that, although I did
Yep.
disagree, it's not been us that's voted it down, it's been the citizens that voted it down.
Right. But when I go to the citizens, I like to make sure I have an idea about what I'm going to talk about. So I think let's just take a look at the list initially and then try and gauge what
Where we think the tripping. is
Yeah,
going.
exactly. Yeah. So then we can present it in a more organized fashion, maybe. Yeah. I'm not opposed to that. I just think let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's take the first step. Okay, citizens' concerns, topics, no topics, announcements. Final reminder, Saturday, May 31st, free regional repair event. This will be at the Tech School on Saturday, May 31st from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Tech School. Students, instructors, and local fixers will be on hand. Every effort will be made to repair your items. Note that antiques and heirlooms are not covered and should not be fixed at this event.
Don't come crying.
And in addition to the fixing, they're going to do free blood pressure checks, tick repellent boot spraying, 10 a.m. to noon
Nice.
only, and food by the culinary department. And it's all on the franklincountyWasteDistrict.org. Saturday, May 31st. Okay, and then, what was that?
Recognition for service? Or that you had another?
No, I had
announcement?
another one, sorry. Oh,
You were gonna announce this.
sorry, I'm going to announce the three-town meeting of the Select Boards and Finance Committees will be on Thursday, May 29th at 6 p.m.
At the town hall
At the town hall, not at the senior center.
in Bernardston.
In Bernardston.
Yeah, so it's right on the,
Main Street or South Street.
it's called South Street, but it's their main street.
You were making the flag committee in the announcements.
I thought it was 38 Church Street.
That's the senior center, it's not at the senior center.
Oh,
It's at the main street.
okay.
It's at the town hall, I'm sorry.
For some reason they moved it.
Is it the same building?
No,
No,
the one right on Route 10, the town hall.
Oh, yeah, okay.
the old building,
Nick.
a couple down from the store.
Yeah.
Yes, and then on our website, we have a volunteer call out for the flag committee, and we're still looking for volunteers
And the purpose of that is?
to go over where to place flags as well as to, I know that Bob Henry wants to talk about half-staff, just making more people aware about flags in general. So I think it's looking at the overall positioning of flags within the town and coming up with a solution that can be brought before the town meeting in the fall. As well as any ongoing education, I think that would be nice. After many discussions with Bob and with the veterans on all the things they see in different towns, they wanted to make us aware of that too, make citizens aware. Okay, and recognition for service.
I have one.
Yes.
So Finance Committee has been looking for members, and former town clerk Gail Zakowski and former town Northfield tax collector, Northfield treasurer, Northfield town clerk Barb Brasser have both volunteered to work on the finance committee. So that's, I think that's pretty cool that somebody who had desire to be elected and didn't elect and wasn't elected still chooses to step up and serve the community. So I think that's really awesome.
I'm just going to mention again, though, that any decisions about the finance committee will be handled by the town moderator. So it's
Absolutely.
his responsibility to announce those.
Those are really super
And
qualified
then he'll
people.
pass those along.
But I just think it's great that people, it's not about self-aggrandizement, it's about serving the town. And I think that's great. So that's my recognition. Do we have an executive session?
Just another recognition for service, speaking of volunteering. I'd like to thank Bob Henry and all of the people who participated in the Memorial Day Parade. It was quite the effort. The weather turned out beautifully. There was a huge turnout from, I'm just thinking about the parade itself. We actually had people on the street, but the senior center people came with the Happy Feet kids, and the rec folks came out, almost the whole commission, plus the kids, plus the mountain biking club. And then we had the PVRS band, so a big thank you to the PVRS band for
Boy
doing a
Scouts
great
were there,
job.
too.
And the Boy
Yep.
Scouts. And the junior firefighters. So it was a big group effort, and Bob wrangled everyone appropriately. And Dan and I were the only ones who were there, and EMS unfortunately had a couple of incidences
Calls.
right before so I didn't get to ride in the ambulance, but that's for
We
another
did have
day.
EMS walk with us, which was a good thing, because when we get down to the graveyard, the sitting in the chairs needed
a little wobbly,
assistance.
right?
Oh, yeah. But everything worked out well. It was
She
a
helped
great
Bob
day,
get out of the chair
perfect
because he was,
conditions.
yeah.
So yeah, everybody was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, so
I think
thanks
the
to
kids were looking for
Carolyn.
candy for us to throw, but that would be the veterans to take care of that next time.
And they were handing out flags
Yes, they
too.
were.
Yeah.
They did hand
Yeah.
out flags.
Okay. All righty, executive session. So we have a records request and possible edits to executive session minutes from January 7th and 21st of 2025. We are going to make a motion to review and approve and possibly release previous executive session minutes under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, in parenthetically 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law of federal grant and aid requirements, to possibly return to open session with the results of the release.
Okay. But maybe not. Maybe we just announce them later. I'm just playing.
Well, we voted on them.
I
right?
think we've already voted on them. It's just to approve those two.
No, there's a release.
Oh, I see.
There's a motion to release, and we do the motion to release in the executive session, and then we do one in public, as I recall from, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Second.
Second,
I
that would be me.
first.
Made the motion.
Okay, and then we need a vocal. Dan, why don't you go? We'll just go around.
Since I wasn't involved, I will abstain.
Well, you're going to come
Well,
into the
just
executive.
No, we're just voting to go into
I'm
executive
sorry.
session.
I'm
Sorry.
Yes, Dan Campbell said yes.
Okay.
Dave McCarthy says yes.
Bernie says yes.
B says yes.
Sarah says yes.
Okay. Yep. We're getting a lot done.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. So we've returned to open session, and following our executive session, we're now going to do a motion regarding the public release of said executive session minutes. So I'd like to entertain a motion where the select board releases the following executive session minutes: April 8th, 2019, June 12th, 2019, September 23rd, 2019, and December 16th, 2019. I need a so moved.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Discussion? None?
Yes, I think that, so we're releasing these are old executive session, we're releasing
Correct.
them based on a public records request.
Correct.
That
That
was
had
the only discussion.
previously been approved.
Correct. Even though none of us were on the select board in 2019, we do have the responsibility of reviewing old executive session minutes if they still exist and have not been released. So these were approved by the select board members at the time. Okay, Dan?
Dan Campbell says yes.
David says yes.
Ernie says yes.
B says yes.
Sarah says yes.
Yes. Okay,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everyone.